Welcome back. Yes, indeed, it's Christmas all over the place. But now we're going over to Mr. Emmanuel Ihim. He's actually the pastor and president of International Missions Outreach Incorporated. He joins us, as you can see there, from our studios in Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you too. Good morning.
All right. Well, it turns out that well, somehow it becomes increasingly difficult. Sometimes, yes, maybe Christmas, but you still see political things, events going on here and there, and you've been writing about all of those scenarios. But first of all, let me even ask you because I mean, you most times you stay outside this country, you're back here, you move around. Christmas, haven't seen Christmas where you live and here. Do you in any way lose the significance in your travels, or is still very much the same to you?
Actually, it's visually the same, except for the fact that before this time in the United States, before the presidency of Donald Trump, Christmas has been so much stepped down that you can't even mention the name of Christ, as it ought to, because he is the reason for the season. But on the ascension of Donald Trump, I mean, we can say Christmas again. It is loudly and blissfully celebrated everywhere in the United States, just as we do celebrate it here for Christians, and actually for the purpose of Christmas is to acknowledge the fact that Christ is the reason for the season. So it's actually the same, but with some flavoring, different kinds of flavoring that may not exactly be there, and that's an environmental thing. So, yeah.
All right, let's bring it back home here and see how that flavor eventually plays out. Well, you've not just been preaching, you've been writing as well. So put it in context for us. What have you been so concerned about to the extent you're writing books about it?
I'm so concerned about how faith and politics and the government interact, how they conflict and where they intersect, and how they can be, when they coalesce, how they can be utilized for the benefit of the citizens and for the benefit of the society and to enhance development and for the prosperity of the nation.
Is it an
And
illusion?
so that
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you, is it an illusion or are we being utopian when we think that, yes, that there can be peace, both religions across the world can live peacefully and ensure things just go nice and easy?
Frankly, if there is a myth or an idyllic situation, if there is a myth about it, it is because of maybe ignorance or lack of knowledge of what religion is, or, I mean, I think it's basically lack of knowledge. When you understand the theological base of your religion, especially for me, for Christianity, I do know that is a very realistic and a practical situation that religion, or so to say Christianity, which I'm part of, Christianity and politics can mix, but they can be mixed up, but they can be mixed. It is more dangerous for society and for leaders to separate society, separate leadership, separate political enterprise from religion, because if you do, you are alienating it from morality, you are alienating it from integrity, you are alienating it from moral sanity and wisdom that the religion provides, which is the foundation of society.
So, wait. When you say Christianity, politics, they can mix, they can be mixed up, is it a thin line or what? I mean, how do you mean?
It's not a thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a thin line. It's for us to be conscious, that there are some people who hold religious positions, who may sometimes be called to be politicians. They merely have to keep the offices very distinct and independent. And we have a lot of those experiences in the Bible. We saw how David was the king and still held a priesthood office. We saw how Joseph was a leader, in the Egyptian colony, in the Egyptian nation under Pharaoh. And we saw how Samuel, was a judge and held judicial position. There are a lot of people in the Bible that held political positions and also judicial positions. But the only thing is that you have to ensure that the offices are very distinct and they are separate. But be that as it may, when we talk about mixing religion and politics, it goes beyond people directly holding leadership position and leadership or political positions and judicial positions or legislative positions. It goes beyond these offices converging in one person. It goes beyond that. It goes to it speaks to every person that's a religious personality. So it speaks to every politician. It speaks to every religious person, or it speaks to every Christian. And it applies to each and every one of us. We as individual voters, we as individual electorate, we as individual politicians, there is no how we can divorce religion, particularly Christianity, from the enterprise of politics and government. Because if we do, we consign that area to darkness. We consign that area to ungodly enterprise. We consign that area to an irretrievable oblivion of myriads of evils that may destroy the society.
Talk about, because there are different schools of thought about some of these things. There are those who believe that, well, what if they separate religion from affairs of state? And after all, they've seen countries where that was separated and countries advance. And they think that if that comes in, people may just play religion such that it holds them back from doing the actual things, from applying their minds to things in life and such other vices. So how do you internalize those kinds of narrative?
Actually, the way to keep religion safe from interfering with government is not to separate religion from government or politics. The main issue about the separation is when a state propagates religion, propagates one religion against the others, that state errs, constitutionally errs, biblically errs, because people should have the choice, because Nigeria actually is a religious state, and we have freedom of religion, and that freedom does not stop with politics, it does not stop with government, it does not stop with social, economic spheres. That freedom of religion is freedom to worship the way the God you want. And that religion is not an abstract thing. Religion is part of our culture. It helps in formulating your worldview. In fact, it is primary to the values that we seek for that are desperately needed in politics and government. It is very, very essential that religious values, healthy religious values, be integrated into politics and government. The truth is that when you refuse to do that, you remove the saltness. The Bible says that when a salt refuses to salt its environment, it becomes a vanity, valued for nothing. Okay, I mean, if religion fails to preserve its society, fails to sanitize its society, fails to keep his society from decaying and corruption. It ceases to be religion. So the primary function of religion is to preserve society.
Okay, Mr.
Is to be able to.
If I may come in here. Now, you talked about, you mentioned something earlier which I'd like you to clarify. Nigerians are considered a religious people, but the constitution or the laws say that Nigeria is a secular state. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah. No. The word secularism is an abstract imposition. The constitution does not mention that Nigeria. The truth of it is that Nigeria is a religious state. If you know the provision of the various codes in the constitution, the provision of the customary code, the Sharia code, tells you that Nigeria is a religious state. A religious state is not quite, is where every religion, every person is free to propagate his or her religion, you know. And the only thing is that we have to come to a point where the state should not be biased or prejudiced or take side about one religion, where people should be able to worship the God they want to worship and integrate the moral values from their different religions, from their different backgrounds, from their different experiences into political enterprise. So you can really, if religion is part of our worldview, I mean, all the lessons I've taken in my life religiously, all the studies I've taken in my life, every interaction that I've taken in my life in terms of religion, if you ask me to divorce it as I go into politics, or go into government, you are asking me to alienate my worldview because because religion itself, especially Christianity for me and for adherents of that faith, is the major primary ingredient of my worldview. It's my background. You know, a worldview is like a lens from which you see reality.
All right.
And
Mr. Him,
every other reality depends on not my background, depends on who I am and how, what I've impacted over in my life.
Okay,
if you remove that lens,
Mr. Him, staying with this matter of applying your religious tenets or lessons to your living, it is known that every religion has its rules. There are rules of operation, rules within that religion that guide